Now is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and hope I am audible properly. Okay. So if you raise your voice, if I am not audible properly. Okay. So actually your syllabus, let us go to your syllabus first. You know, in your syllabus has been divided into two parts. First part is mainly the generating stations, and second part, it starts with substation. Okay. So today we'll discuss the substations. And somebody is wanting to join. Yes. So today we'll discuss substation. Then what are the major equipments? What are bus layouts? Those we'll study. Now, power distribution system, I think we have covered primary, secondary distribution, types of conductors in distribution system, comparison of distribution system, distributed design, radial and ring main system, current and voltage profiles, economics of feeder design, all these things we have covered. Okay. And the last part is remaining, that is electric wiring and installation, that we'll discuss in the next class. Then we have Ardin practice, testing of installation, special lighting connections, conductors, fuse and disconnected devices. Today actually we'll discuss the substation part up to this bus bar layout. That means substation and the equipment present in the substation, and the last part, fuse and disconnecting devices. Okay. So let us start with fuse. I will not discuss fuse elaborately because it is very simple and most of you have already studied about fuses. Just some important points about fuses I will discuss. What is fuse? No need of discussing. It is a short piece of metal inserted in the circuit for safety purpose. That means when excessive current flows, it should disconnect the circuit. Okay, so it is a very simple arrangement, or the simplest one. Now, so the definition of fuse and the characteristic of the fuse element. You know, when the current is very high, the time taken for the fuse to break the circuit or to melt is small. When the current is low, the time will be more. This characteristics is already known to you. Just you go through what is written here, you will be able to understand. So nothing new here. Then advantages and disadvantages, from your common sense only you can write the advantages and disadvantages. Of course, it is the simplest form, but what is the difficulty? It cannot break a circuit carrying high current. What will happen if fuses are inserted? Then a flashover will occur. Sometimes you have noticed that when fuse melts, there is a small flashover. The flashover will be small when small current is interrupted, but this flashover or spark will be very of large scale if the current is more. Okay, in that case, what do we use? Instead of fuse, we use circuit breaker. That spark or flashover is called the arc. Actually, what happens when a current carry, suppose in a fuse or in a circuit breaker, is a circuit breaker, it is a sophisticated form of fuse with some um, additional features incorporated. It cannot be called additional version of advanced version of fuse and a circuit breaker are totally different. But what are the advantages in a circuit breaker? A circuit breaker, in a circuit breaker, the mechanism for extinction of the arc, that flashover, is incorporated within the circuit breaker. Okay, when the moving contact and the fixed contact separate, what happens? When large current is interrupted, then the medium between the moving contact and the fixed contact, say the medium is air, that air becomes conducting. Okay, and the heat generated is so high that the medium starts glowing. Okay, So there may be fire hazard and lots of other things can happen. So it is very important to extinguish that arc. Okay. So in circuit breaker, mechanisms are there to extinguish the arc, but in fuse, there are no such mechanisms. Okay. We'll study the circuit breaker in very short, in just the summary about circuit breaker, because circuit breaker you have in your 7th semester details about circuit breaker. So now you just concentrate on the fuse. So first the definition of fuse, then the characteristics, then advantage, disadvantages, you can study from any book. Okay. And desirable characteristics of the fuse, it should have no low melting point. Otherwise, large current will flow and it will not melt. So what is the purpose? The equipments will be damaged. So high conductivity, it should not get heated due to continuous flow of current. Free from deterioration due to oxidation, low cost, of course. Silver is the best material, but for low cost, we use aluminum, tin, and all this. Okay. Then fuse element materials, these are discussed, and what are the advantages of using fuse, using silver. It is written here. Okay, the advantages of fuse. And then some important terms. Okay, these are important. The rating of fuse. See, the current rating of fuse element. What is the current rating of fuse element? It is the current which the fuse can carry continuously without overheating, okay, or melting. This is the current which the fuse carries under normal condition. It can carry continuously. Then what is the fusing current? Fusing current is the minimum current at which the fuse element melts, okay, and disconnects the circuit. Then these things you go study and you can easily understand that the relation between the fuse diameter, watt diameter, and the current is given here, and different values of K for 4 different metals have been given here. Now phasing current, of course, depends upon these factors. You go through them. And then another rating, fusing factor. It is the minimum fusing current by current rating of the fuse. Okay. Minimum fusing current is actually this current, fusing current, and current rating is this current. Okay. So the ratio of them is the fusing factor. Now this is important. Am I audible properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I hope it is being recorded. Yes, it is being recorded. Okay. Now, this is important. There are some definitions related to this picture. Those definitions are prospective current, cutoff current, then pre-arcing time and arcing time. Let us enlarge the screen. Okay. Now, see, perhaps you have studied, have you studied in machine sub-transient period, transient period? Have you heard the names?
ম্যাম
Hello?
ট্রানসিয়েন্ট পিরিয়ড জানি, সাব ট্রানসিয়েন্টটা কি?
আচ্ছা, আমি ডিসকাস করে দিচ্ছি। দেখো, why you are so late? Anyway, see, suppose AC current is being carried by the fuse. Okay, AC current is sinusoidal. Now, suppose the fault occurs, say, when the sinusoidal current is like this. Okay, so let the fault occurs at this point. Okay, now if the fault occurs at this point. It is a sinusoidal curve of like this, it is coming, and the zero time is calculated from the time of occurrence of the fault. So what will happen when as soon as the fault occurs? As soon as the fault occurs, you forget about the fuse. Suppose fuse is not there in the circuit. As soon as the fault occurs, you will find maybe for 1 or 2 cycles or 1.5 to 2 cycles, the current is huge. Okay, this current, see, first half cycle it is huge, second half cycle it may not be so less, it will be like this. Ultimately, after 1 or 2 cycles, it will start decreasing. Okay, then transient period will happen for some period, then again steady state period. That means before what the steady state period is it will go on, it will continue unless otherwise the current is interrupted. So as soon as the fault occurs, what I told that maybe for 1 or 2 cycles huge current flows, that period is called subtransient period. Okay, and after that period, current decreases to some value. It is not so high, but still high. That is called transient period. And transient period, it continues for few cycles. Then comes the steady state period. Okay. So during the subtransient period, at least for the first half cycle, you will find it is the maximum, peak is maximum. Okay. So that peak, the value of that peak current is very high. And what is the prospective current? Prospective current is the RMS value of the first half cycle. Okay, see what is prospective current written here? Definition, you go through the definition first. It is the RMS value of the first loop of the fault current obtained if the fuse is replaced by an ordinary conductor of negligible resistance. See, if the fuse is not there in the circuit, fuse is replaced, say, by an ordinary conductor, then what will happen? There will be no question of melting. So as if it is a conductor, fuse is not there. So the fuse will not melt. Fuse is not there, so no question of melting. The current will flow. And so the current, the RMS value of that the first of the current of the first loop is called the prospective current. But what happens as fuse is inserted in the circuit, so the current cannot reach that maximum value. Before that only fuse melts. Say that this is the cutoff current of the fuse. If this is the cutoff current of the fuse, it will melt at this point. So ultimately current will become zero. Understood? So it is written that prospective current is the RMS value of the first loop of the fault current obtained if the fuse is replaced by an ordinary conductor of negligible resistance. Okay, if fuse is there in the circuit, the prospective current would never be reached. Okay, because it has dangerously high value. So understood what is prospective current? Any problem? So no problem. Okay, so before the current reaches the prospective value, it will melt at the cutoff value. Okay, but when the fuse melts, it cannot the current cannot abruptly become zero. There is some time required, because I told you when the fuse, that element melts, the medium between that the two contacts where that element is connected, fusing element is connected, that part becomes conducting. So that is called arc. An arc is established. We call an arc is established because the medium becomes conducting. Even when the fuse element melts, that medium becomes conducting, but fuse normally interrupts current of very small value, so that arcing current is very small and automatically it dies down. Okay, so instantaneously the current is not zero, it decreases to zero after the arc is extinguished. So based on those, this arc and all these things, some definitions said that this time from the initiation of the fault up to the point at which the fuse melts, this is called pre-arcing time. Why? Arcing has not been established till the fuse is carrying the current. Okay, arc takes place only after the fuse melts. Okay, so at this point the fuse melts, and the current will continue to flow through the medium, because I've told the medium will become ionized. So current will flow through that medium, and when that current naturally becomes zero, that period is called arcing time. Okay, so arcing time is the time at which the fuse element, the time counted from the melting of the fuse, instant of melting of the fuse up to the total current zero. Okay, or the extinction of the arc. So before that, this period is called pre-arcing time, when the fuse was in the circuit, and this is called the arcing time, when the arc is established from the initiation of the arc to the extinction of the arc. So what is the definition of pre-arcing? And this is the total operating time, starting from the point of occurrence of the fault up to the total extinction of arc or the total current zero. Current is not becoming zero as soon as the fuse element melts. Okay, it will take some time, though the time is very small. So that both this pre-arcing and arcing time is called the operating time. So this cutoff current, the cutoff current value depends on these factors. So go through this. It's very simple. So pre-arcing time, what is pre-arcing time? It is a time between the commencement of fault and the instant when cutoff occurs. Okay. So when a fault occurs, the fault current rises rapidly and generates heat in the fuse element. Okay. As the fuse current reaches the cutoff value, the fuse element melts and arc is initiated. The time from the start of the fault to the instant the arc is initiated is called pre-arcing time. See, its value is so small. So we say that instant the current, as soon as current reaches the cutoff value, instantaneously the fuse element melts. Okay, but it is not instantaneously. All maybe the time is very small, but some time is required. Then what it is arcing time? It is the time between the end of pre-arcing time. That means when the fuse element melts and the instant when the arc is extinguished. Okay. Total operating time, it is the sum of pre-arcing and arcing times. Okay. So total arcing time is quite low, say the 2 millisecond. Okay. But for circuit breaker, it is 0.2 second because it has sophisticated mechanism to extinguish the arc. So these are the definitions which you should study and try to explain with the help of this curve. Now, breaking capacity, when you hear the term capacity always means voltage into current. It is not generally the current or voltage, it is VA, volt ampere. Okay. So it is the RMS value of AC component, a maximum prospective current that the fuse can deal with at rated service voltage. Though here it is mentioned prospective current, but generally it is current into voltage, prospective current into service voltage. That is the breaking capacity. Okay, capacity, by capacity mainly understand volt ampere. Now the different types of fuses, low voltage fuses and high voltage fuses, mainly low voltage fuses we will discuss. The first one is the semi-enclosed rearable fuse. It is a very simple type of fuse. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay. Semi-enclosed fuse, it is a simple type of fuse which you normally observe in your house. Okay. It is used for low values of currents. It consists of base and a fuse carrier. The base is porcelain. You know, in your house, you will always find this type of fuse and carries fixed contacts to which incoming and outgoing phase are connected. The fuse carrier is also a porcelain and holds the fuse element, tint copper wire. Element is not silver, due to high cost, tint copper wire. So the fuse carrier can be inserted in or taken out of the base when desired. Actually, base is always there. You have to insert the carrier. Okay. If the fuse wire melts, you have to put another wire and you have to put the carrier in the base. You must have seen how it is changed. Okay, so disadvantages are, of course, disadvantages will be there because manually you have to change it every time when it blows out. Okay, and also there is no sophisticated mechanism for changing for extinguishing the arc. If the current is very high, there may be flashover. Okay. Now, what is the next type of fuse? It is high rupturing capacity, HRC fuse. Some mechanism is there. So what is HRC fuse? It consists of a heat resisting ceramic body. Okay, the body is made of ceramic. It is a ceramic body having metal caps. These are the metal caps to which welded silver current carrying element is connected. This is a silver current carrying element. The space within the body is surrounded by filling powder. Filling powder may be chalk, plaster of Paris, quartz of marble dust, and acts as arc quenching and cooling medium. I have told, see, when the fuse element melts, what happens? This say if the medium, this medium, it may be here, this medium becomes conducting. Okay, huge amount of heat is generated. Now, why these materials are given here? Because they can absorb the heat and they can cool the medium. So if the medium is cool, there will be no more current, arc will be extinguished. Okay, so some chemical reaction occurs when heat is generated. Okay, what is that chemical reaction? See, the operation is written here. When fault occurs, the current increases and the fuse element melts before the fuse current reaches its peak. the heat produced in the process vaporizes the melted silver element. So this fuse element is silver, so silver vaporizes, and what happens? The chemical reaction between the silver vapor and the filling powder results in the formation of high resistance substance, which helps in cooling the arc. So the medium becomes resistive, highly resistive, so that current will automatically become zero, or we say the arc is extinguished. Okay. So this is HRC fuse. Now another type of HRC fuse is used. HRC fuse with tripping device. This is nothing but this plunger is connected. Okay, one plunger is there. What happens when this fusing element melts down? It pushes the plunger upwards, and the plunger is connected to the circuit breaker. This circuit breaker then trips and disconnects the circuit. Okay, so the fuse is directly not disconnecting the circuit, but the plunger is connected with a circuit breaker and it is disconnecting the circuit. So what is written here? The body of the fuse is of ceramic material, just like the previous one. Then these are connected by number of silver fuse elements. At one end is a plunger which under fault conditions hits the tripping mechanism of the circuit breaker, okay, and causes it to operate. The plunger is electrically connected through a fusible link, chemical charge, and a tungsten wire to the other end of the cap. So some chemical reaction takes place which causes a force on the plunger and it disconnects the circuit. It connects to the circuit breaker which disconnects the circuit. When a fault occurs, the silver fuse elements are the first to be blown out and then current is transferred to the tungsten one. So silver element is there first, it blows and then the tungsten element, it gets fused. Okay. So this forces the plunger outward to operate the circuit breaker. So plunger is moved in upward direction. The travel of the plunger is so set that it is not ejected from the fuse body under fault condition. It need not get out from this body. It remains within the body and it hits the strip coil of the circuit breaker. Okay. So three types of fuses and some small definitions of the high voltage fuses are used, and you go through it. Here the carbon tetrachloride is used and small definitions are small operating mechanisms in brief are given here. You please go through it. It is very simple. Okay. So fuse, I don't think we should discuss in detail. You go, whatever I have discussed, you study from any book. Okay. Now, substation. Now, is it okay? Can you hear me properly?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Substation. This is new to you. Just 1 minute. Actually, what do you understand by substation? You must have heard the name substation, Kaushba substation, Sonarpur substation. So many substations are there. In generating station also there is a substation. Maybe in the outskirts of the city you will find large substations. They have so many equipment. Okay, housed in inside that substation periphery. So actually substation, it is an assembly of equipment. Okay, what type of equipment? What is the function of substation? The most common work or objective of the substation, to increase step up or step down the voltage. Okay, so transformer is a must element or must equipment in a substation. In most of the substations, okay, because it is a major function of the major function of the substation is to step up or step down the voltage. So the most common type of substation is the transformer substation. Okay, where the voltage is stepped up and stepped down. In generating station there will be substation to step up the voltage. In outskirts of the city, there will be substations to step down the voltage. Inside the city also, there will be substations to step down the voltage from 11 kV to 400 volts. You know that, we have already studied. But apart from that, stepping up and stepping down the voltage, there may be other functions of the substation. That power factor. You are conversant with the term power factor. What is power factor? is the cos of the angle between voltage and current. You know, power is directly proportional to the power factor. So if power factor is low, the active power will be low. So we need to improve the power factor. Generally, our loads are inductive. So there may be a huge drop in power factor, but we at every step we need to improve the power factor. So we have to install equipment in the substation to improve the power factor. So another task of power factor is to improve, another task of substation is to improve the power factor. Okay. By installing capacitors, synchronous condensers, and all this. And what can be the other functions? The other function can be, maybe in some cases the DC voltage is required. So this can also be the function of substation to transform AC to DC, or if it DC to transform DC to AC. Okay, sometimes in some industries they need special frequency. Our frequency is 50 hertz. So in some special purpose, if frequency needs to be varied, that is also done in substation. So let us first see. So this you go through, it is very simple. Let us first see what is a substation. Definition is given. The assembly of apparatus used to change some characteristics like voltage, frequency, AC to DC, power factor, etc. of electric supply is called substation. So the following are the important points which must be kept in view while laying out a substation. These you go through very simple things I will not discuss. Then classification of substation. Now classification can be done on two bases. First, service requirement. Whatever I have discussed, that is on the basis of service requirement. If power factor needs to be improved, that is the power factor substation. If voltage needs to be improved, stepped up or stepped down, that is the transformer substation, like that. And then constructional features. Okay, what is the construction, or how is the construction of substation? So first, based on the service requirement, first one is transformer substation. It is the most common type of substation, you know. Next one, switching substations. What are these substations? These substations do not change the voltage level. Okay. However, they simply perform the switching operations of power lines. Maybe during some peak load period, you need to switch off some lines. Okay. Or maybe some lines are not always required to be in the circuit. They need to be switched off at certain instance of time. So those switching operations are done in these switching substations. Okay. Then power factor correction substation, you know. And then frequency changer substation, though this is not normal. Okay. This frequency change may be required for industrial utilization only, because our frequency is 50 Hz. Then converting substation means AC to DC or DC to AC. Then industrial substations, maybe some industries they require some specific voltage or some specific characteristics. So for them, specially designed substations, that substation is specified for that industry only. Okay, or customized for that industry only. Now, according to constructional features, substations can be indoor substations. Most of the substations that you see are of outdoor type. Okay, because if the voltage increases, we cannot use indoor, because when the voltage is high, sufficient spacing must be required from one equipment to another equipment. So for voltages up to 11 kV, indoor substation is okay. However, maximum it can be used for 66 kV. That too when the atmosphere is not congenial. Okay, but beyond 66 kV, indoor substation cannot be installed. Then outdoor substation is installed. All the substations that you see are outdoor type. Sometimes in densely populated areas, if there is no space, underground substations are also used, though this is not very much recommended. Okay. And the most common type of substation that you see in different parts, in different streets, that is the pole mounted substation, or H pole 4-pole structure. It is the cheapest form of substation for voltage not exceeding 11 kV. Okay, so and comparison between outdoor indoor, you go through it, is very simple. Now We'll discuss only two types of substation. Most common type, one is transformer substation, another is pole mounted substation. What is a transformer substation? Transformer substation, you know the single diagram of power supply system, isn't it? You have already studied, though it is drawn in a different way. We have shown it in vertical direction. This is shown in horizontal direction. So depending upon this structure, power supply scheme, the substations, transformer substations can be of four types: step up substation, then primary grid substation, secondary substation, distribution substation. Step up substation, you can understand, it is used in the generating station where the voltage is stepped up from which voltage? Voltage is generally generated at 11 kV. I have told you earlier, from 11 kV to 220. May not be 220, it may be 400 also. It may be 66, maybe like that. Okay. So here it is shown 220. So here starts the primary transmission system. Okay, go through the first day's class note, primary distribution system. Then the primary transmission system, it terminates at the primary grid substation where the voltage is stepped down from 220 kV to 66 kV. Okay, so from this primary grid substation starts the secondary transmission. Okay, the secondary transmission system terminates at secondary substation where the voltage is stepped from 66 kV to 11 kV. Instead of 66, you can find 33 kV also. So at 11 kV, mainly the distribution system starts. I have told you, some consumers having power greater than 50, requiring power greater than 50 kilowatt are supplied directly from 11 kV lines. So from here starts the primary distribution. And in the distribution substation, the voltage is again dropped from 11 kV to 400 volts, and that is the distribution substation. Okay, so it is based on the power supply scheme. You go through this one because all these four substations are written here. It is nothing you will find. It is completely similar to that we discussed in the first class. Okay. And then the pole mounted substation. Okay, you are conversant with this figure, isn't it? You have seen this type of substation. 1 minute. Isn't it? So this is the H pole type of substation. Okay. So H pole. This is the H pole. Actually, if you want to draw the single line diagram of this substation, it is a 11 kV line. Lightning arrestor is there. Okay, fuse element is there. That is isolating switch. This is a transformer, distribution transformer. This is a circuit breaker. OCB is all circuit breaker. And this transformer actually steps. This is a distribution substation. It steps down the voltage from 11 kV to 400 volts. Okay, so all these are incorporated within this H pole structure. And small description is given here. Actually, voltage between any two lines 400, whereas voltage between any line and neutral is 230. Actually, it is all right, but as this is a very simple, so I don't know where this line is given. So it is okay, I think. Okay, don't get confused. So this type of substation is the H pole substation. And underground substation, it is not very much recommended. It looks like this. But main, you have the important is transformer substation and that H pole substation. Okay. Next, what are the equipment present in a substation? From this figure, you can easily understand the equipment present in a substation. This is actually called bus bar. Okay. The lines. Suppose one line is 11 kV, another line says 400 kV. So what is this line called? This is called 11 kV bus bar. This is called 400 kV bus bar. Bus, BUS bus, BAR bar, because these are all conductors or rectangular bars. Okay. So then what a lightning arrestor may be present, fuse may be not maybe it is present, isolating switch, it is simply switch. Okay, that is present. So the transformer is present, circuit breakers are present. So these are some of the common equipment. So what are the other equipment present in a substation? First, main bus bar. Actually, bus bar, I told you, when there are several lines in the substation operating at different voltages, isn't it? Different standard voltages, not any arbitrary voltage. So when several lines operating at the same voltage have to be directly connected electrically, bus bars are used as the common electrical component. Bus bars are copper or aluminum bars, generally of rectangular cross section, and operate at constant voltage. The incoming and outgoing lines in a substation are connected to the bus bar. Suppose this 11 kV line, say this is a 11 kV line, or say this is a 400 voltage line. So it is not like only 2 points will go, because we need so many parallel lines to feed all the consumers. Okay, so this bus bar is used. It is not that there will be single point. You have to connect all these things in a single point. Okay, so that you can connect any equipment, a bus bar arrangement is done. Now, what is isolator? Isolator is because you have in your syllabus disconnecting devices. You can understand fuse is a disconnecting device. This this is insulator, not isolator. Isolator means just the switch. So isolator is a disconnecting device. Isolator. And what is the function of circuit breaker? Its function is also to disconnect the circuit. So it is also a disconnecting device. So you need to study these things. Okay. So insulator, what are insulators? Insulators you have seen when the overhead transmission lines, they are connected to the towers, they are connected with the help of insulators. Have you seen all those insulators? When the voltage is low, pin type insulator, which is just the structure of a pin. Okay, in high tension lines, when the 11 kV lines are terminated, they are connected through some disc connected in series. Those are called insulators. Okay, some circular discs are there. Have you seen in the long tower, some circulating discs are there? I think
Yes,
you have
ma'am.
noted,
Yes,
isn't it?
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
those
ma'am.
are insulators. You will also study those insulators. So insulators actually support the conductors and confine the current to the conductor. So the current from the conductors do not flow to the ground through the towers. Okay, so insulators, they confine the current in the conductors. Okay, they are made of porcelain. Okay, there are different types of insulators, spin types, suspension type, and other types that you will find out. And next, isolator. Isolator is a disconnecting switch. It is used to open some given part of a circuit after switching off the load by means of circuit breaker. This is very important. Isolators can be two types: single pole isolators, three pole isolator. Maybe you will find single pole means if it is a three-phase circuit, you have to open three poles separately. But three pole isolators, you can open just open one, and all the three will be opened and or connected. Now, why it is said that when there is no power in the circuit? Because in a substation there are huge current flowing. So when the current or the load is connected, if you just open this isolating switch, what will happen? There will be flashover, and there may be fire also. Okay, so and also suppose the circuit is open, you want to connect the circuit. If you directly connect it, also there will be flashover. Why that flashover is taking place? Say this is connected. Okay, it is carrying current, so there is some electromagnetic energy. Now as soon as this opening, the current cannot become is becoming abruptly zero. But what happens? That energy must be transformed. It is transformed to electrostatic energy. Okay, and huge voltage gradient is established in this gap, so that voltage gradient, it creates an arc. You have heard about corona in overhead transmission line. What happens in corona? Why corona occurs? It occurs due to the dielectric breakdown of the air. That means air becomes conducting. Okay, so in high tension lines, if the two lines are brought closer to each other, you will find corona. That means voltage gradient increases. What is voltage gradient? Voltage gradient is, in for air, it is 30 kV per centimeter. So it depends on per centimeter. So if the length decreases, spacing between the conductor decreases, the breakdown strength of the air can be reached. It can be above 30 kb per centimeter. So if it exceeds that value, air will become conducting. Okay. Here also, as the gap is small, this medium can become conducting and huge flashover will take place. If you want to suddenly disconnect the circuit or connect the circuit, both ways, it is all the same. Okay. So it is not recommended because there is no sophisticated arrangement in the isolating switch or isolator to extinguish the arc. So it is not recommended to use the isolator when current is flowing in the circuit. Okay. Or under load conditions. So how will you operate? We will operate through circuit breaker. So circuit breaker is an equipment which can open or close a circuit under normal as well as fault conditions. It is so designed it can be operated manually under normal condition and automatically under fault condition. Okay. So actually circuit breaker, you remember that it can be operated. Suppose the circuit breaker needs some maintenance or a part of the transmission line needs some maintenance. Or what we have to do? You have to disconnect the circuit. That disconnection is made with the help of circuit breaker. Because there is no problem in the circuit breaker. In the circuit breaker, there is arrangement inside for cooling the arc to extinguish the arc. That we'll see today only. We have one full page on circuit breaker. I will discuss those. So, and also suppose the circuit is open. You need to put that circuit in operation. You have to connect the circuit by circuit breaker. Okay. So, what is the use of isolator? See, a circuit breaker, whether the circuit breaker is connected or it is actually, it has stripped, you will never understand from outside. But by observing the isolator, suppose some personnel, the maintenance personnel, how they will know that, yes, we can now do the operation work? They can understand only by observing the isolating switches. So what happens? Suppose the circuit is in operation and we need to maintain some lines, okay, of the system. So what we have to do? We have to first operate the circuit breaker. Okay, circuit breaker is operated and after the arc is extinguished, so we will be sure that yes, the full circuit is under off. Then we have to open the isolator. Always it is recommended to open the isolator after opening the circuit breaker, because then only you can understand, yes, it is because double arrangement is there. Okay. So for safety purpose. Okay. And so there is no requirement for isolator if the circuit breaker is there, but it is for safety purpose. And when the isolator is connected, you will all will be sure that it is under operation. Okay, first trip the circuit breaker, then you can open this one, then you can start the maintenance work. And isolators are in locked arrangement with a circuit breaker. You cannot open the isolator when the circuit breaker is in service. Okay, some interlocking arrangement is there for safety purpose. Suppose circuit breaker is there, current is flowing, somebody has opened the isolating switch. What will happen? Huge fire will occur, huge flashover will occur, the person may die also. So you cannot open this one without the circuit breaker being tripped. Also, what happens? Suppose you now everything is open under no load condition. Now you want to put this one in service. So which one should be connected first? First, isolator will be connected because isolators always operate under no load condition. First, you connect the isolator, then you put the circuit breaker in operation. Okay. So you cannot after this starts is on, you cannot operate this isolator. So during closing operation, this isolator will be operated first, then the circuit breaker. During opening operation, circuit breaker will be operated first, then the isolators. Only remember two things: isolators operate under no load condition, circuit breaker operates under loaded condition. Okay. Now is it clear? Hello, any voice?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Now load interrupter switches, because so many loads are connected, so these switches are designed and used to close or open high voltage circuits under normal working condition. The arc extinguishing device of the load interrupter is made in the form of a split molded plastic chute fitted with organic glass inserts. So lots of partitions are there. You will see this, you won't understand now. In circuit breakers, one way of extinguish the arc is to divert the arc through different chambers. We call it splitters. So here also splitters are used so that arc is splitted into different parts. Okay. This chute surrounds the moving knife of the arc extinguishing system. The stationary acting contact is located in the lower part of the chute. You need not understand the actual operation because it is not possible, and I don't think this elaborate discussion is required for this part. Only you remember that lots of splitters are provided, okay, for splitting the arc so that to extinguish the arc quickly. Okay. Now, fuse we have already studied. Power transformers, you know, transformers are integral part of any substation. So transformers I will not discuss. You will elaborately study transformers in machines. And then current and potential transformers. Actually, these are called instrument transformers. Suppose you want to measure what is the current flowing. Now, current flowing may be 1000 ampere, maybe 5000 ampere. It is not possible to insert an ammeter. Is it possible? You open the circuit, open the one part, you insert the ammeter, then you measure, then you first operate the circuit breaker, open the circuit, then insert the ammeter, then again operate the circuit breaker. And of course, that high range ammeter will not be available. But this is not required. Okay, and this is also not possible. How it is measured? It is measured with the help of current transformers. Actually, these are called instrument transformers. These also you studied in detail in measurement and instrumentation subject. But just the fundamentals, what is a current transformer? It is essentially a step-up transformer which steps down the current. Actually, suppose 1000 ampere current is flowing. We have an ammeter 0 to 10 or 0 to 50 ampere. So what do we need? We need to step down the voltage and then multiply it by the multiplying factor. Okay, then we'll get the value of the current. So these transformers are essentially the transformers which will step down the current. And you know, in transformer V1 I1 equal to V2 I2. So if the secondary current is low, the secondary voltage must be high. So these current transformers are step up transformers. Okay, which steps down the current. You know, only in step up means where the secondary voltage is higher. The step up transformers, in step up transformers only the secondary current is low. So it's a step up transformer which steps down the current to a known ratio. The primary of this transformer consists of one or more turns of thick wire connected in series with the line, isn't it? Because primary is low voltage, secondary is high voltage. Okay, it has less number of turns of thick wire, primary. Secondary will have more number of turns of fine wire because it is a step up transformer. Okay, these you should understand by now. Which provides for the measuring instrument and relays a current which is a constant fraction of the current in the line. That is, it transfers the current. It's the secondary. From the secondary we get the current, and that current is not the full current. That is a fraction of the current the actual circuit is carrying, so that it can be measured by the ammeter. Okay, and in CTPT you will later on learn about the this accuracy class, burden, and all these things. By now you can only understand what is the type of the transformer. Okay, similarly for potential transformer we need to measure the voltage. So what will be done? Say the voltage is 11 kV or 220 kV. It is not possible to, who is trying to enter? My goodness, almost 1 hour over. Anyway, so what is potential transformer? So potential transformer actually it steps down the voltage so that it can be recorded by a voltmeter. So it is essentially a step down transformer with a known voltage ratio. So just the opposite. As step down, the primary will have higher voltage. So primary consists of large number of turns of fine wire, and secondary consists of few turns of thick wire. Okay. So these are about current transformer. These are known as instrument transformers. Okay. And then indicating and metering instruments, for measuring current, voltage, power factor, power, maybe the energy, all those instruments are called indicating and metering instruments. Then protective relays. I have one slide. Protective relays, actually, circuit breaker cannot sense the current. Okay. Its task is to just open the circuit when the trip signal is received. But the current is sensed by or current, voltage, anything that is sensed by power, direction of power, that is sensed by the relays. Okay. So the relay senses the current and it sends the trip signal to the circuit breaker. It will simply open the circuit and it will close the circuit. Okay. So protective relays are an integral part of the substations. Then carrier current equipment. Carrier current means such equipment is installed in substations for communication purpose. Okay, communication is essential because there is a control loop. Nowadays, it does not happen that personnel or maintenance personnel are roaming everywhere. They are finding where the fault has occurred, which line is to be switched off or on. So everything is done from the control room. So the such equipment is installed in substations for communication, relaying, telemetering, or for superficially control. Okay, each equipment is mounted in a room called carrier room. Okay, and is connected to the high voltage power circuit. Then control cables for affecting the automatic controls. The control cables and the conduit systems are required. Okay. So these are the other than these things, many other equipment. There may be bank, capacitor bank, and other things for improving the power factor, but these are the most common things. Okay. Now some symbols about the equipment present in the substation. You can find it. Go through these symbols. Some symbols of some common equipment are shown here. Okay. Maybe you will not understand what is earth fault relay. Okay, but from the name you can understand it says the earth fault. Okay, and earth fault is also a special type of fault where ground is involved. That also we'll learn later on. Now protective relays, just one slide for protective relay because you will study relay in details in the 7th semester. Also circuit breaker will study in details in the 7th semester. The protective relay may be defined as an electrical device connected between the main circuit and circuit breaker that detects the fault and initiate the operation of the circuit breaker to isolate the defective section from the rest of the system. Actually, relay cannot isolate the circuit breaker, but it only sends the signal to that some abnormal things have occurred. It can send that signal to the circuit breaker. Okay, sometimes not only current, sometimes if the power flow direction is reversed, it also sends that signal. Okay, that is called directional relay. Okay, so that is also possible. Okay, so not only it will sense the current. The typical relay is shown in this figure. So what is done? See how it is connected. If it senses the current, it should be connected with CT. Say this is the circuit, this is the main line, and suppose the fault has occurred. So who will measure the current? Who will sense the current? This is a relay coil. Relay coil will sense the current, so it must be connected in series with the CT. Secondary of the CT, primary of the CT will be connected to this line. Secondary of the CT will be connected to the relay coil. Okay, so it senses the abnormal condition. So on occurrence of a short circuit fault if on the transmission line, there is an enormous increase in the value of the current flowing in the line. This causes a heavy flow of current through the relay coil. making the relay to operate by closing its contact. So what is done? It closes this contact. This is called the trip coil. Okay, closes the contact. This in turn closes the trip circuit of the circuit breaker. Again, it is connected with the circuit breaker. So as soon as the trip coil is closed, circuit breaker will open its contacts. Okay. Okay, initially this one is moving contact, another is fixed contact. They were in touch with each other, but as soon as the trip coil operates, it will separate. Okay. So this in turn closes the trip coil of the breaker. Consequently, the circuit breaker opens and the faulty section is isolated from the rest of the system. So this circuit breaker opens this faulty part. Okay. So in this way, relay operates. Now the circuit breakers. Okay. Though the photography is very poor. Anyway, what is circuit breaker? Circuit breakers are mechanical devices designed to close or open contact members. There are two contacts I have told. One is fixed, another is moving contact. The moving contact will operate, thus closing or opening an electrical circuit under normal or abnormal condition. Okay, even under normal condition, if you want to open the circuit, you have to operate the circuit breaker first. Okay, and under faulty condition, it will automatically open from the trip signal received from the relay. Okay. The interrupting or rupturing capacity of a circuit breaker is the maximum value of current which can be interrupted by it without any damage. So this is interrupting capacity is the maximum capacity of the circuit breaker. It can withstand or at which it will operate. Okay. Function of a circuit breaker, I have discussed about circuit breaker for quite a few minutes, so you can understand. You go through these things. Of course, circuit breaker, it can carry the full current continuously without overheating or damage. The normal current is the full load current. It should be able to carry continuously. It opens and closes the circuit on no load. What is written here? An automatic circuit performs the following duties. It carries the full load current continuously without operator. It opens and closes the current. You just delete this second part. This is misleading. Okay. You just cut this number 2 part. Because it makes and breaks the normal operating current. If suppose the current is flowing, okay, so you can operate the circuit breaker to make it off. So we cannot say it opens the circuit at no load. We cannot say that. Okay, because it operates under loaded condition. This is a wrong statement. You please delete this number 2. Okay. Then it makes and breaks the short circuit currents of magnitude up to which it is designed for. Okay, makes means actually it is put into operation, switch on. Okay, breaks, switch off operation. Now, what is the principle of circuit breaker? Okay, principle, actually see, the basic operation, construction of any circuit breaker requires the separation of contacts in an insulating fluid. What is insulating fluid? In normal, suppose in oil circuit breaker, insulating fluid will be oil. In air circuit breaker, insulating fluid will be air. In SF6 circuit breaker, insulating fluid will be sulfur hexafluoride, like that. Okay. Now, it can be air, normal air, in air at normal atmospheric pressure. It can be compressed air. Okay, sometimes in air blast circuit breaker, compressed air is used. Oil can be used, SF6 can be used. Also, there is vacuum circuit breaker. Okay, that we will learn later on. Now, the fluids that are used for in circuit breakers should have the properties like high dielectric strength, thermal and chemical stability. It should not be reactive. Okay, easily reactive. Okay, the non-inflammability, high thermal conductivity, arc extinguishing capability, commercial availability at moderate cost. Okay, actually on the basis of these insulating fluids, the circuit breakers are named. Air circuit breaker, air blast circuit breaker, oil circuit breaker, vacuum circuit breaker, like that. Okay, So these is of circuit breaker. Okay. Now, is there any question? I think you have to go through the notes, or you have to go through any book. Then you have to, if you have any doubt, then clarify. Okay, just I will take 2 minutes. বলো।
ম্যাম আপনি এটা মানে কোন বই থেকে পড়াচ্ছেন, মানে এক্স্যাক্টলি সব চ্যাপ্টার এরকম কোনো বই ঠিকঠাক পাচ্ছি
না
আর কি।
না না, সব চ্যাপ্টার একটা বই থেকে পাবে না, আমিও একটা বই থেকে পড়াচ্ছি না। আমি যে কোন বই থেকে পড়াচ্ছি সেটা একটা বই আমার কাছে একটা, তুমি জেবি গুপ্তাতে পাবে, বিআর গুপ্তাতে পাবে, আসফাক হোসেনে পাবে, ওয়াদওয়াতে পাবে, মানে সব এক জায়গায় পাওয়া মুশকিল। এক তো ভ্যারাইটি, তো যেমন সাবস্টেশনে দেখবে অনেকগুলো বই তোমাদের রেফারেন্সে লেখা আছে, ঠিক আছে, এবার সেই বইতে হয়তো অন্য কিছু পাবে না। এগুলো প্রত্যেকটা বই একটু ঘেটে ঘেটে করতে হবে, এবং একটা বইতে সব পাওয়া একটু মুশকিল, এটা একটু হেটারোজেনিয়াস টাইপের। তারপর যেমন তোমার জেনারেটিং স্টেশন, সেটা জেনারেটিং স্টেশন আবার একটা পায়, জেনারেটিং স্টেশন আবার ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন সিস্টেম, দুটো জিনিস একটা বইতে পাওয়া মুশকিল, ঠিক আছে।
ম্যাম
হ্যাঁ বলো।
ম্যাম বলছি যে আপনি যেই নোটটা থেকে মানে ক্লাসটা করাচ্ছেন সেই নোটটা কি ফরওয়ার্ড করে দিতে পারেন, তাহলে তো আমাদের মানে ডাইরেক্ট
সেই
পেতে
নোটটা
সুবিধা হয়।
প্রত্যেক দিনই ফরওয়ার্ড করে দিই।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ সেটাই।
এক্স্যাক্টলি আমি সেটাই ফরওয়ার্ড করি, যেটা থেকে পড়াই একদম ধরে ওটাকে ফরওয়ার্ড করে দিই, ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ ওটাতেই তাহলে সুবিধা হয় আর কি।
হ্যাঁ ওটা তো আমি করি। জাস্ট আই উইল টেক 2 minutes break. Okay, then I will start the bus bar. Okay. Now next, bus bar. Okay, actually bus bar arrangement, it is specially written like this. Bus bar layouts. Okay, you can study this bus bar layout from any book. Not necessarily that you need, the question will be given, draw breakers and a half with two main buses, double bus bar with two circuit breakers, double bus bar with bypass isolator. Maybe in some books we will find some different names are there. Okay, these are not very general names, but the types you can get from any book. Okay, I will send this book. There are some typographical errors. Okay, just now I mentioned that in circuit breaker I told what this one opens and closes the circuit on no load. Okay, because this is wrong. Opens the circuit at no load, it is totally wrong. It opens the circuit under loaded condition when the current is carried by the circuit breaker. Okay, so unless you attend the class and go on studying, it will be difficult anyway. So what is the bus bar arrangement? Bus bar arrangement, I told you, it is simply a rectangular cross-sectional area of fixed voltage. One bus bar means it is fixed voltage at every point. Okay, so single bus bar is very simple. Okay, single bus bar means, see, this is the figure. This is a bus bar. These are the incoming lines. This one is incoming. This power is coming. And one circuit breaker and isolators and circuit breakers are always together connected in series. Okay, one is preceded by the other. So these are the incoming lines connected. Say this is the 11 kV lines will come from the come from the primary distribution lines. These will be called the primary distribution lines. They will be connected to the 11 kV bus bars, and from there we need to step down the voltage. So we are taking the power from here by these two are the outgoing lines, which are again connected to the transformers to step down the voltage, and these will be connected to the 400 volts lines. Okay, so in this way, this is the simplest form, single bus bar. Okay, only one bus bar is there, and of course the lighting arrestor will be there. So 2 lines, incoming lines and 2 outgoing lines. Then not essentially 2 and 2, it may be hundreds of lines may be there. Okay, according to the requirement. But you know that disadvantages, some fault occurs or it needs the maintenance, whole thing needs to be shut down. Then the repair. Then merits, demerits, I will not discuss because these are very simple. You can easily understand. Then single bus bar with sectionalization. So what is done? 2 sections are, it is 2 sections with the help of one circuit breaker. Suppose there is a fault or this part needs to be maintained. So what is done? This is open and this part is closed. So suppose so this part is under normal operation and this part is it is shut down. So it is possible. Okay, with the help of sectionalization, not only that it should be divided into 2 sections, more than 2 sections can be there. Okay, so with the help of sectionalization, this arrangement can be done. This is bus bar with sectionalization. Okay, the advantages, disadvantages are given. Of course, you can understand the advantage. Disadvantage is also there, one extra circuit breaker is required. Then it is also single bus bar arrangement. Now this is double bus bar arrangement. See, 2 bus bars are there. Okay, 2 bus bars are there and the others are same. This is the incoming line, this is the outgoing line, and this is the bus coupler. Actually one bus, there are actually 2 buses are there, but one acts as the main bus and another as the spare bus. Maintenance, this bus coupler acts and the whole load is shifted to the other bus, to the spare bus. Then after maintenance work, again the load is shifted to the main bus. Okay. Then comes the double bus bar with 2 circuit breakers. Here you see there is only one circuit breaker. Here there is 2 circuit breakers are there. So it can be this, no bus coupler is required if you use 2 circuit breakers, because whether you need to operate this bus bar or this bus bar, it depends on the connection of these circuit breakers. Okay. Then comes the breakers and a half with 2 main bars. Okay, these are the 2 main bars and the breakers and a half means 2 breakers are there, one for each, and another breaker is there in the intermediate position. Okay, so 1.5 breaker per circuit, actually 3 breakers for 2 circuits. Okay, advantage, disadvantages are given. Main and transfer bus bar, it is given. I have already discussed about the bus coupler. You study and find out the difference. Okay. And double bus bar with bypass isolator. Okay. This is also that it is written and there will be some difference with the previous sections. The last one is the ring bus. Ring bus, you know the term. It is connected in the form of a ring with the help of bus coupler. Okay. This is also actually this bus coupler should be written here. This is bus coupler. Okay, so whether if when both are closed, it acts as a ring system. Of course, ring system has some disadvantages. That is why it is also used for distribution systems. Okay. Now again, I am telling that these divisions are not very strict divisions. You can study from any book, maybe in some other books, these names you will find these names as some different names. Okay, but the concept will be same in both the cases. Okay, so today up to this, actually you need to study because there are no problems and from this part actually what you have studied actually substation, classification of substations, major equipments in substation, bus bar layouts, and you have studied fuse and disconnecting devices. Okay, so next day we'll study the this electrical wiring and installation, domestic, commercial and industrial wiring. Okay, estimation of main, submain and sub-circuit wiring, and if possible conductors, earthing practice. I think I need 2 more days for covering whole these things. Okay, now is it okay up to today? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will send you the notes. Do you have any questions? Hello? I think everything is clear to all of you. So I am ending the class here today. বলো কিছু বলবে?
No, ma'am, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so thank you everybody.